52-year-old Free State farmer is to face charges of malicious damage to property as well as public violence. He was arrested for his alleged role in this week's court protests in Senekal in the Free State, where farmers stormed the magistrate's court and then clashed with police. They were protesting during the appearance of two people for the murder of farm manager Brendin Horner. For more on this story, I'm joined now by Chrispin Phiri, who speaks for the Department of Justice and Correctional Services. Good afternoon to you. What is your department's view? Is it that the farmers took the law into their own hands?
Precisely that, Jeremy. What we saw in those videos was what we can describe as wanton vigilantism. As we understand it, the offenders or these individuals wanted to actually break out someone out of prison to ensure that they deal with him, quote-unquote, themselves. And we think that's quite damaging for the criminal justice system, where you have people willing to take the law into their own hands like that, but also such a display of violence, where we speak of police vans being burnt, vandalizing inyalas, is a direct threat to the state itself.
All of this was caught on video, as we're looking at now, yet it's extraordinary that only one person has been arrested.
Well, we think that that's the purview of the South African Police Services, and they've outlined it quite several times to say how they're going to go about investigating this matter. But they've also explained why they didn't do arrests on the spot, or why they didn't respond with violence per se on the spot. And one of the reasons that they have advanced is that they needed to ensure that everyone in that vicinity is protected, and if they responded with equal force of violence, we would be speaking of a different matter today. As we would know as a country, public order policing has been something that's been quite topical. And when we see SAPS responding in a manner which ensures that lives are not lost, it's somewhat encouraging. But we do want to ensure that when our law enforcement agencies respond to matters of this nature, they respond in a manner which enforces the rule of law.
It seems now to have become a tit-for-tat argument. Police and farmers are now blaming each other for who fired the first shots. Again, I understand where your purview begins and ends, but what are you hearing in that respect, if anything?
Well, I've personally received a number of calls from various individuals trying to explain their version of events to me. And our position is quite simple. If you have a counter version, you would be able to present that to the relevant authorities, but also present that to a court of law in the event where a court of law needs to hear such information in mitigation of whatever they need to mitigate against.
It's patently obvious that tensions in that region are very high. What needs to be done to lower them right now? Farmers are angry, police are concerned. We'll talk about the EFF in just a moment.
Well, let's respect the state. Everyone should understand that the criminal justice system, with its difficulties, is there to protect everyone. And when individuals are in the custody of the state, we have to trust that the state will do the necessary thing. And there are remedies within the state to ensure that if we see an injustice happening, we correct that through the state itself. So let the state do its job, and let us hold the state accountable. But holding each other accountable is certainly not marching on a court and demanding that we quote-unquote, handle this matter ourselves. That's not the type of society that we want to live in. And whether we're black or white, we should condemn violence. I think that's something that we should all be able to agree on.
Are you concerned then that there hasn't been a condemnation of violence from the farming community in this respect?
I can't speak
Organised agriculture.
I can't speak for the farming community, but I would expect that everyone in society agrees on how we solve certain problems. And violence is just never the solution. And so we hope to see everyone across the board indeed condemning violence, no matter where it occurs, whether be it in the farming community or whether it's in a grocery store. But as a society, we must agree that we do not solve violence. We do not solve the problems that are manifest in our society by violence. And I think this is something that we all need to come to heads with, whether be it in public protests as well. We know that a number of public protests that we see in our country turn out to be violence. And at the end of the day, you can't burn a clinic because you want water, or you can't burn a school because you want a road. That's just definitely counterproductive, and we must condemn that type of violence in general.
It is inevitable that the spectre of violence is now hanging over this particular incident. You would have seen reports this morning from the economic freedom fighters saying that they will attend the trial. They want to, and I quote, mobilize their ground forces. It's inevitable, as I say, that the spectre of violence is there. This has become a political football now.
Well, I wouldn't speak from that perspective. I think people are aggrieved by other parties' actions, and generally that is how the society that we live in. How we respond to certain matters as the state does not satisfy all parties. How other individuals respond to certain incidents does not rest well with certain interest groups. But to say that it's a political matter, I think, is a bit of a stretch too far. What we're seeing here is society reacting to violence. But what we must ensure moving forward is that we all agree that violence is not the way we solve problems in this country.
The farming community would suggest that, or would say that law enforcement, the judicial system, is simply not acting quickly enough when it comes to arrest and prosecution of people responsible for murders on farms. That has been a call it's been making for a long time. Does it have a point?
Those are legitimate concerns across the criminal justice system value chain. And it's a well-known fact that an effective criminal justice system is one which arrests people with speed and prosecutes them with speed. And this is some of the things that the Minister of Justice is currently addressed with in the criminal justice system to ensure that we have prosecutors in the right place who are able to do their jobs competently, get the information and evidence from SAPS as and when it comes through, and we put these matters to the court roll so that we have success in terms of prosecutions, or also if people are not guilty, then they are acquitted. But indeed, it is a legitimate concern that the wheels of justice must not turn too slowly, unless people then actually lose faith in the justice system.
Chrispin Phiri, thank you very much indeed. Speaks for the Department of Justice and Correctional Services. This is